What's up, Speedy's Garage gang, and welcome back to the Speedy's Garage YouTube channel. There's been some news this week, and I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm not sure how I feel about it, and I'm hoping you guys will leave me some comments and let me know your thoughts. But let's jump right into the discussion. And hello, Go Man Go. I've missed you. I've been out of town for the last week, so I haven't driven Go Man Go in probably 10 or 12 days. I'm starting to have a little bit of a withdrawal. The weather's been nasty, thunderstorms left and right, so no fun for today. But I've got to get some driving in. I'm starting to tweak out a little bit. So like I was saying, there was some news this week from Dodge, which was a little bit of a surprise for me personally, and maybe I should have seen it coming and I didn't. I'll start off by kind of prefacing what I want to say with some background history about me personally. So I grew up parked in front of the TV on Friday night, waiting to watch the Dukes of Hazzard. It came on at 7 o'clock at night every Friday, and I was planted in front of the TV. Mom couldn't drag me away to get dinner or anything, and it wasn't to watch the show, it was to watch the car. I was in love with the General Lee. I love the sounds that it made. I love the color of it. It's a lot of the reason the two Challengers I've had have been orange, just somehow got burned into my brain at a very young age to see that car on the TV. And I think that really started my love for automobiles, and I like all kinds of performance automobiles and cars in general, really. I like mechanical things and stuff I can work on and modify, and I've always enjoyed that. And so that led into me getting into an RC car. And so when I was probably 10 or 11 years old, I saw a TV commercial for what was called a Tyco RC Turbo Hopper. I think is what they called it, a Tyco Turbo Hopper.
Here comes fun on wheels. Tyco Turbo Hoppers. These sons of guns pack turbocharged engines. With your kids at the radio controls, there ain't no place they can't go. Turn them and they slip under, over, around the darndest places. Send them cannonballing off a cliff. Yahoo! There's no stopping them. Want more speed? Give it a blast of turbo power. If it's the one and only Tyco Turbo Hopper, it's a winner. Get your kids the real Turbo Hoppers, only from Tyco RC.
Once I saw that commercial, I was drooling. But you know what I remember most? I asked for that car for my birthday and got the little remote control car. And what I remember the most about that car is playing with it for 15 minutes and waiting 5 hours for the batteries to charge. By the time I actually got back around to having batteries to put in it again, and I went through several sets at first. My parents were about to kill me because they were spending all this money on batteries, so we got rechargeable ones. So now I'm recharging the batteries, and by the time it got back around 5 hours later to actually put the batteries back in it once they charged up, I had lost interest in the thing. So honestly, I didn't play with it that much because you only got 10 or 15 minutes of enjoyment out of it and then a 5 hour wait. So it kind of drove me nuts. And maybe that's what left a bad taste in my mouth for electric vehicles. I've always just kind of thought of them as a problem where you want to go somewhere and it's not charged, or you're trying to get somewhere and heaven forbid it runs out of charge. And so I don't know if that experience as a kid has just stuck with me and that's the problem, or I just generally don't like them because they're not fully mechanical like a gasoline powered engine might be. So we recently heard about SRT being dissolved as part of the Stellantis merger or buyout of FCA, and I'll link to that to the top if you missed some of the discussion I had on that. And now we're seeing this announcement of an electric muscle car, and I don't know that that really makes sense, at least to me. I'd be curious to what you guys think, so be sure to leave me some comments. But Stellantis has a much larger interest in EV vehicles than I think FCA did, and we're starting to see that now very quickly after that merger took place. And I understand why Dodge needs an electric car for the segment. They're gonna be a thing, and I think as technology advances and batteries get better, last longer, take less time to charge, and are lighter weight, I think we're gonna start seeing more and more of that. When I was on vacation recently, I saw a ton of bicycles that were kind of a hybrid. You could pedal them, or they had a little electric motor that ran off of a rechargeable battery, and I think as you pedaled it would kind of charge it up. And they would do like 30 miles an hour and had a range, if you used some of your own Go Power, you could do 70 miles on the thing. And that was I thought a great idea for like being around the beach and in a small town where you could ride a bike different places. You'd get some exercise, number one, but if you got tired, you just kind of turn the throttle on it and let the electric motor take over. So in those situations, I'm all for it. I don't know that I'm really ready for an electric muscle car though. Obviously Dodge is coming out with this to compete with Tesla and their performance model called the Plaid or Model S or the Plaid. I think they're two different ones. And there's no doubt those Tesla Plaids are very fast. They're very quick cars. I think they run 0 to 60 in like 1.99 seconds. They're gonna run a quarter mile in what, 9.2, 9.23, 9.24, which is very fast at like 154 miles an hour. The problem is, to me, a muscle car isn't just fast. It's not just because it's fast that makes it a muscle car. It's the look, it's the sound, it's the feel, it's the vibration, it's the smell, it's the noise, it's everything that goes along with it that makes it that muscle car. Thinking back to, my childhood watching the General Lee on the TV. So the early specs on this Dodge eMuscle car that Tim talked about in his video are a 0 to 60 of 2.0 seconds, and it looks like it's going to be all-wheel drive if we're to believe some of the imagery that was associated with the announcement.
We're on location at the historic Dodge family home with over 100 years of amazing Dodge heritage parked behind me. And today is an important milestone, embracing the brand's history while looking to the future. The Dodge brand all but defines pure American muscle and was born to push the boundaries of horsepower. And that's why Dodge will not sell electric cars. Dodge will sell American muscle because our customers purchase an experience, not a technology. And it may surprise you to learn that Dodge attracts one of the youngest and most diverse customers in the industry, with the highest concentration of millennials, who now account for 1/4 of the US population, with the highest spending power of any generation. And equally, if not more important, millennials also have the highest acceptance rate of EVs. We've pushed this pedal to the floor. Our engineers are reaching a practical limit of what we can squeeze from internal combustion innovation. They know, we know that electric motors can give us more. And in 2024, Dodge will launch the world's first full battery electric muscle car to tear up the streets, not the planet.
So even if they make it look like a muscle car, you're still not going to get that smell and that noise and the sounds that come from it like I spoke about before. Look at the Demon, the Red Eye, the Hellcat, the Scat Pack, the RTs. They got a nice rumbly V8 in them, and that's kind of the character that goes along. That's the heart of the car that actually makes it a muscle car, at least in my opinion. What really kind of irked me about that video is Tim Kuniskis made a point to say Dodge will not build electric cars. We will not build electric cars. And they even put a little box around it, as you saw. But then they turn around and say, but we're going to build electric muscle. And isn't it still an electric car? I mean, I used to have a saying, don't pee on me and tell me it's raining. And that's exactly what it kind of feels like. Just come out and say, hey, we're going to build an electric car. And we're going to try to make it be the baddest electric car that we can make. And it's going to be in this performance segment. And that's all fine and good. But the way they've started marketing it, it's obvious to me that they're a little bit worried how it's going to be accepted and perceived by their base customer. They claim they did a bunch of market research in the video, so they're obviously targeting the millennial aged category or demographic for this vehicle. They claim that they're 25% of the population, that they have the #1 strongest spending power. I looked up the age range of a millennial because I wasn't really sure, and it's supposed to be between 23 and 38. 38 sounds a little bit old to me to be a millennial. Now, I don't know how that's figured out, but I don't know any of my friends that have kids or anything like that I would consider a 38-year-old a millennial. Most of them are in the mid to late 20s, I would say. And honestly, I remember them growing up. Those kids, #1, they didn't even care about getting the license for, to drive when they were 16 years old. They were just happy as could be having mom and dad tote them around everywhere, which I always thought was really weird. I could not wait when I turned 16 to get my license. As a matter of fact, I was already riding a motorcycle on a hardship, what we called a hardship license back then, at 15, just so I could have some freedom. And that's really what I looked at my license as. It's freedom to get out of the house and be out on my own. And so I think this demographic, they're not really interested in cars, at least most of the ones that I know. Now there's exceptions. I'm not saying everybody who's a millennial doesn't like cars, but it seems like that generation, they're more interested in playing a video game or being on social media or something of that nature, and really just looking at a car as an appliance to get them from A to B, and they don't really want to be bothered with it. I think they would be perfectly happy to dial it up on their phone and it just come pick them up and take them where they wanted to go. So trying to target that demographic with a muscle car that's electric, I don't know that that's going to work out all that well, number one. And number two, we got to assume that they're going to be the same kind of technology that's in these Tesla Plaid and Model S type cars. And those are expensive. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I was, mid 20s or late 20s, I didn't have, and I don't have it now, didn't have $130,000 to spend on a car. I mean, that was more than my house cost back when I was, trying to get a house at 25 years old. And so I don't know how these younger people, maybe they got really good jobs and I'm just not aware of that, but $130,000 for an electric car is a lot of money. It's a lot of money for any kind of car. And I just can't imagine 25 to 30-year-olds having that kind of money to spend on a car. I would think they would be looking more at houses and property at that point. Now, trying to look at the situation of glass is half full, we can hope that as Dodge starts to produce more of these electric vehicles, that maybe it will lower their mileage average, and maybe some of that gas guzzler tax will start to roll back for those of us that want to buy the ICE-powered muscle car. But yeah, right, once they start getting that tax from you, you're probably not ever going to get that back again. And if Dodge wants to have an EV division, I'm perfectly fine with that, as long as it doesn't replace the ICE-powered, internal combustion engine-powered muscle car. If they want to have a competitor to it or another segment that's electric, I'm okay with that too. I'm just a little bit worried that as they bring this car in, they'll start to phase out the ICE-powered muscle cars, and I certainly worry that any further development of those internal combustion engine models will start to fall by the wayside as they start to focus on these battery-powered cars. All I'm gonna say is, I'm glad I got mine. Now, what I would rather have seen is for Dodge to put a couple of electric motors on each front wheel of the current Hellcat, Red Eye, etc. Make each one of those motors 100 horsepower, and now you've got an all-wheel drive platform that's 1,000 horsepower, basically. And that would have been something I could get behind. So I would have been very interested in that. And honestly, I thought we would eventually see that Elephant motor make its way into the lineup as maybe the kind of the final platform on the larger sized car that we have today. But I think the writing's on the wall, and that's probably not going to happen now with Stellantis taking over. And so I had originally intended that be my upgrade path. When they put the Elephant motor in, I was probably going to get one if the price wasn't really, really crazy. I don't want to go buy a Elephant motor and stick it in Go Man Go, because the Elephant motor by itself with the electronics is like 30 grand, and that's just not good value for money to me. I could have a 426 built if I wanted to go that route for less. So I'm gonna have to sit on the sidelines for that for now. And some of the things I think about with electric cars are the charging location availability. There's very few of those around where I live, and I get it, they can expand that over time, but if you have an electric car today, you have to be kind of careful where you go and what your range is. Electrical grid capacity, so when they start expanding those charging locations, can the electrical grid handle it? We're seeing some situations right now, summer of 2021, where some places out west are in a heat wave and they're being asked to cut their AC back and other things because the electrical grid can't handle what's already there. So that's a concern. Battery disposal, so the batteries don't last forever. I mean, I had the battery in my laptop recently start to fail, and I had to buy a new battery, and it was a couple $100 for the battery in the laptop. And I think the batteries that are going in these electric cars, they're 15 grand probably. Now I get it, they're gonna last a while, probably a lot longer than the one in a laptop will, but it's still something you gotta consider. And we're talking about environmental. Tim Kaniskis, he says we're gonna tear up the streets, not the environment. I kind of chuckle at that stuff because you still have rubber tires and rubber components that go in the car, all the manufacturing that's related to the car, and that obviously creates pollution. You've got glass, paint, things like that. And then the batteries, again, you have to actually produce those and then have something to do with them when it's time for them to go away, when they're depleted and they've ended their useful life. There has to be a way to recycle those, and I don't know that we're there yet from a technology perspective. Like I said, I think the battery technology, and I'm sure scientists and engineers are really focused on this, that's what really has to change. When you can get a large amount of range for a little bitty charge, You know, how long does it take to charge the car up when it's depleted? If it takes 5 hours or you're stuck somewhere, if it takes 30 minutes, you can go have a cup of coffee, no big deal. So on the batteries, I hope Dodge has a really good warranty on them, like a 10-year warranty on the battery. And maybe they're assuming that people are going to lease the car and only keep it 2 or 3 years and never really have an issue with the battery. You know, they'll turn the car around or swap it out before they do. But folks like me keep cars a little bit longer, and that would be something I would be worried about. And finally, at least with the Tesla, a lot of the options, so you buy the Tesla and you get the car, a lot of the options that you may want it to do or have, they're software based. So it's like a little license that goes on the car and enables that feature. Well, I didn't do a ton of research on this, to be honest, so you guys can leave me some comments if you know different, but I've read a couple of stories at least where a buyer or an owner, I should say, has a Tesla. They showcase it to someone to sell it. They're going to sell it to, you know, someone's going to buy it used from them. It has all these features on it. Well, when that ownership changes hand and that registration updates with Tesla, all those features quit working. And Tesla expects the new owner to go buy the license again for the features that they thought they were getting with the car. So those software updates and all of that kind of stuff make me a little bit nervous. I mean, think about your phone. How many times has a software update been janky and caused your battery to, you know, get used up faster, or the phone not work like it, you know, normally would, or run slower, or get hot? All kinds of stuff happens with those software updates. So that makes me a little bit nervous. We've had a couple of situations just, you know, with Go Man Go where the Uconnect gets updated and dash gauges swap, where IAT is now ECT or whatever, and it seems like it takes them a long time to fix that type of stuff. So I would also be worried about those type of software updates. So again, leave me some comments and let me know what you guys think. Am I overreacting? Am I being a bit too close-minded? You know, I try not to be, but I'm a muscle car. I've loved muscle cars almost my whole life. Like I said, since I was probably 4 or 5 years old watching Dukes of Hazzard on TV, so it's really hard for me to accept an electric car, which I, in my mind, think back to a remote control toy, as a muscle car. So leave me some comments. Let me know if I'm overreacting here or being close-minded. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Be sure to check us out on Instagram. It's at Speedys_garage, as well as our website, www.speedysgarage.net, and hopefully I'll see you out there.
But there's